Good evening, everyone. It's 7:02. It's Monday, February 24th. I'm Laura Dancho, 10th District Counselor, and I'm filling in for Chris Pia, who is unable to be here tonight. So with that, it's 7:03, and I'm calling the WPCA meeting to order. Can I get an approval of the minutes from last month? Councilor Perillo, and a second?
Second.
Jim Connor. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Who do we have here? 3. Ken is supposed to be here too at some point. So we have 7 right now. Item number 3 is the town engineer report. Mr. Casey?
I want to report that we had received the bid for the pump station project. My memo that we had sent out on Friday left that field blank, and today I submitted an updated report because we received the bids today. We did receive only one bid from C.H. Nickerson and Company, and the bids came in with a base bid and an alternate number 1 and an alternate number 2. And if you remember, we were putting Oak Bluff Pump Station as an alternate add-on because of the Zoning Board of Appeals decision, which we did get a favorable decision from them, so we were going to add it to the bid, but then it became more complicated, so we just left it the way it was, basically. So that the bidders would have the opportunity to bid on the 4 pump stations as the base bid, and then an alternate would be adding on Oak Bluff Pump Station. The Oak Bluff Pump Station does need to be done, so as do all the other stations. But we did get in this bid did come in over the amount that was originally estimated for the project. We do have Ty and Bond here to talk about some of the decision-making and options that are available to us. Basically, we could award the bid as is. We could decide to rebid it, or we could decide to award it and negotiate something with the contractor to try to reduce the price. The cleanest way would be to award it as is, and as you know, we're funding this with a 2% loan from the state DEP. That'd be a 20-year payback period. And if we were to delay the project by rebidding it, or if we were to award the base bid and delay the 5th pump station, that the cost would still be incurred. They'd just be incurred at some later date, but at probably a higher cost. So the question is whether we take advantage of the bid that we do have, or potentially jeopardize that and take a risk that we might get a better bid, or might get no bids, or we may get a higher bid. Ty and Bond could talk about what they are familiar with the bidding climate out in Connecticut currently and during the coming year. So why don't we ask the Ty and Bond come up and...
Right, come on up, unless you want to finish your report, and then we can go back, but...
Nothing really is on the report that needs any
All right, Ty and Bond, come on up. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? All right. So we bid this project as one project that encompassed major work at 5 of the pump stations, and we did that for an economy of scale because there was similar equipment upgrades and structural improvements across the 5 stations that you would realize a monetary benefit from. Additionally, you would shorten your interruption of service, and there would be an efficiency for all the parties involved, both town staff engineering and the contractor would be able to have one mobilization as opposed to 5 separate projects. So those are some of the reasons why we went with one bid package. So during bidding, we reached out to 8 potential bidders that are familiar with this type of work. And we told them about the project and encouraged them to come to the pre-bid conference. During the bidding period, it was becoming clear that we would have limited interest because contractors right now are very busy. There was a permitting change last year that caused for major plant upgrades to occur. So there's multiple contracts going on across the state. So contractors are very busy, and the smaller contractors, this $16 million project budget was a little more than they could take on with their other work right now. This morning we opened up the bids, and there was only one. It's from C.H. Nickerson, as John said, and they are a competent qualified bidder. We're in the process of calling on their financials right now, but we have contacted 3 separate references that have positive things to say. Ty and Bond has worked with Nickerson recently, and they're completing good work. So you do have a good bidder for the bid that you received. So the base bid was for 4 of the pump stations, and that came in at about $14.8 million. When you include the contingency, engineering costs, interest during construction, and the legal fees for the package, that bid price becomes $20.7 million for the total project cost. If you were going to do a project for the 5 stations, the base bid price would be $18.2 million, and that would work out to a project cost of about $24.6 million when you take into the contingencies, which may not fully be realized by the end of the project, but we need to plan for them. So at this time, I'll open it up for questions.
So the original grant was for 20.
So right now, you have not gone for a bonding of any price. We expected the project cost to come in about $20 million, and it did come in high.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
One question, if it come in, would the 2% affect just the first 20 million and then we'd have to bond the rest?
No, we expect that you would be able to go for the full 2% low interest loan for the full amount.
Okay.
If you do decide to delay a portion of the work, there's no guarantee that DEEP will continue this funding program in the future. It's analyzed every 2 years, and this is the first of the 2 years.
Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Chairman Laura. I'm going to take a step back from the 24.6 total. Last time we met, we approved for Michael Pipe Services about $680,000. Is that part of this $24 million?
No, this is only for the pump station renovation project.
And that was for the pipes themselves?
That's not for the pipes, it's for the pump stations. It's for the building
Well,
renovation.
what we approved last month?
That's for pipe repairs throughout the system.
Okay.
So that'll be a separate project. And that we're funding ourselves.
And of the 24.6, you mentioned a couple of components. One is the 18.2 from the bid we got from Nickerson. Contingency, how much contingency do we usually set aside for a project of this?
5% contingency for this project, and that's dictated by DEEP regulations.
So it's about $1 million extra per station than we originally anticipated.
Per project, one project.
To do it all together?
Yeah.
How busy are those other 7 qualified contractors, and would they maybe free up in 6 months, 8 months? And what's the risk of DEP removing their 2%?
This is a difficult question to forecast.
Probabilities?
Based on experience, the contractors are very busy right now. If you rebid in 6 months, I don't think that as this project stands, you would get maybe an extra or two bid, but it's not guaranteed. And that extra duration would put you past a construction period, which contractors do work they do work throughout the year. However, their busier times are during the summer, and we would miss that window. And the longer you wait, inflation becomes an issue. Additionally, they would have to rebid because they can only hold their bids for 120 days unless we could ask for an extension, but it is unlikely they would go for 6 months.
If nobody was that busy, should we have gotten that $20 million?
It's difficult to say right now. What we did this afternoon when we got the bids at 11 is we called the contractor and tried to come up with some options to reduce the costs, see if they had any ideas that they thought it could have been done in a more efficient manner or with a different product. And I think we should just continue those discussions to see if there's something that they're thinking of that we have not.
So I think it's pretty clear. Do we want to talk about doing the 24.6? Do we want to have more discussion, or can we take that to a vote?
So we're not asking you necessarily to award this contract tonight. We do have to get approval from the DEP before you can actually award the project. And
So you just want us to approve moving it to DEEP?
that would be great, and then we will submit it to DEEP. And as Amy said, in the meantime, we do have plans to meet with the contractor to see if there's some areas where costs can be saved within the contract.
Okay.
And then we also need you to recommend something to the ordinance committee or to the town council, or both, so that we can get the ordinance, the bond ordinance, back on the table and moving.
Right.
We need that in order to be able to apply for the Clean Water Fund funding.
1 second. Go ahead, one quick question.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept, we recognize that the project cost should not exceed $24.6 million, that we accept Mr. Casey and Ty and Bond's recommendation to work with the contractor to find quality, lower-cost solutions, and we recommend sending this to the ordinance, to town council, with consideration not to exceed $24.6 million.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can I just
By Mr. Taveras.
make one comment? It's actually 24,609,397. So 2027, if you could, 20 point.
Can you say that
24.
number again? 24 point.
24,609,397. So if you want to round it to
Can we say
24.65.
Okay.
All right, so the amount is set at 24.65, and we have a motion on the floor and a second by Mr. Taveras. Is there any more discussion? Go
Madam
ahead,
Chairman.
Mr.
I just want to be clear that we're confident we can get 24.65 million at 2%.
As long as DEEP will approve this project, which they have planned to do so, but they will not commit the funds until the Clean Water Fund application is provided.
Okay.
But every intention would be there to fund the full amount.
Okay, perfect. Anything else? All in favor then? Chair votes yes. And we have, Ken is here now. Who? No, it's unanimous. And moving forward, Mr. Casey, do you want to finish your report, or are we good?
Quickly, the I&I project, we are, as I remember last month, we were going to send letters out to the owners where there's some clean water been identified coming into the system. Those letters will be going out shortly. So if you do get calls, refer them to us, and we can answer any questions that come up. But our numbers are on the letter, so they should call us anyway. And then last meeting, we talked about using Clean Water Fund for part of this, not Clean Water Fund, the Sewer Revolving Fund for part of these capital projects. So we're kind of establishing a $400,000 budget for design purposes, so we can put out a bid for the remediation part of this project. But nothing to report now. The design will proceed, and then we'll go out to bid, and we'll come back to you with the results of the bid. The sewer rehab project that was awarded to Michael's Pipe Services, we did have a pre-construction meeting with them, and they're looking forward to start the project. We have a schedule that they will be completed by sometime probably in August, September with that project. And then the coastal resiliency, we're working on the application for the flood management certificate to secure that grant award, the FEMA grant award, which should be coming in April, we're told. So that work is also underway. Nothing to report yet, but we'll let you know if there's anything to report.
Mr. Casey,
John,
you have a question?
you mentioned $400,000 in relation to I&I.
Yeah, so we have, we just had to set a budget. The authority gave some funds for that last year, and then we're using the balance from the sewer revolving fund, which we talked with Jay Wahlberg last meeting about. So I don't need a motion now, but when we award it, we'll confirm the number.
Just one more topic. We just got the CAFRA report for 2019. It's 6 months old now, but I think there's $1.7 million in the sewer revolving fund. So to pay for the sewer rehabilitation, the how'd you call it, the Michaels, 668,000, to pay for the I&I, there's plenty of cash in there.
Right.
And that's specifically why that account was set up, was to pay for these type of infrastructure capital improvements.
Right, and so we're on that page.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Moving on to WPC Plant Superintendent, Mr. Hyde.
Good evening. I believe you've all got a copy of the report. Hopefully I've had a moment to go over it. January was a challenging month. We got through last year without any violations. We did very well on nitrogen and controlling things and so forth. Unfortunately, in December, we had a record high rainfall, and our temperatures were down 55 degrees, 56 degrees, which is where our bugs become inactive. So we lost solids on the first day of the year. With our BOD, our TSS, and a couple of our other ratings were high. Violations of the permit. So we're not going to get through this year without any violations. We have gotten everything back under control. It was just the first couple of days there, first couple of weeks by the time we had it under control. And we are headed towards complete recovery. Um, It's just every once in a while a plant will get an upset, and we had ours. We did very well as we were, and the average water temperature had dropped, as I said, from September 72 to January 55 degrees. We had cleaning and service of equipment resulted in a brief 15-minute reduction in the UV, the ultraviolet dose application. I believe that's what resulted in my enterococci, excuse me, where is it? Enterococci ratings were high, but not significantly, just slightly over permit. And as we get to the second page of the report, you'll see exactly where the issues were and where they are at the end of the month.
What does that fine look like? Like,
The fine look like?
yeah, like how much would they fine us for that?
They may not.
Oh.
They may not. We, as I said, we got through 2019 without any violations. Our neighbors were not so blessed. You know, they've been fighting it. Our plant's been running very well. And we went directly to resolving it and getting it back into operation as it should be. So there hasn't been any determination on it, but there hasn't been any talk of it either up to this point. Pump station maintenance, general maintenance and repairs to pump stations, including but not limited to put a new flange on one of the pumps at Peck's Mill, the mounting flange for the pump to the boater. It was a special order item. We were down for a couple weeks waiting for that. Put new dialers at Peck's Mill. Had to repack the knife gates, basically to shut off valves for the facilities for the various pumps, and snow removal for them, a couple events. Plant maintenance, same, the general maintenance and repair. We did, as I had mentioned before, removed and cleaned all 6 ultraviolet cells, which I think that's 180 bulbs. Replaced the packing at the plant sludge pump, number 1 and 2. They were not putting out as we required. Replaced drive belts on the trailer loading pumps. Influent pump number 4 locked up. We took it apart, cleaned it out, got it running again. Unfortunately, you will see that in February we had to pull that motor and send it out for a quick repair. It will be back in a few days. Gravity thickener motor failed. Thickener backed up there for. We had to replace the circuit breaker, emptied the tank. It hit packed solid, so we were down for a few days on that. But there was no violation due to that. And again, just snow removal. As we look at the operating report, the BOD, daily maximum is 50 milligrams per day. Our highest day was 151. January 1st and January 2nd were our hard days. We got hit hard right at that time. We managed to hold it off through December, but we could no longer fend it off. By the end of the month, we're back within the monthly average at 28 milligrams per liter. So for the month, we did not violate. Total suspended solids. Daily maximum's 50. We were up at 241 on that January 1st. Again, monthly average is 30. We had brought the average down to 25 by the end of the month. UV maintenance, other than that 15 minutes, which we called for permission to do that through the DEP prior to shutting them down, was authorized. Fecal coliform, everything was good. The end result, the nitrogen, our 356-pound limit per day, we did not make. We averaged 754 pounds per day for the month. It's very high. We are at about 411 on this month. We will have it well straightened out by the end of the month. It is typical for our facility to have issues on the first 2 or 3 months of the year. And we we should have complete recovery from all of that. Additionally, I gave you a handout that you hadn't gotten earlier. There had been a couple of questions last month, and this handout wasn't so much part of the report, something I wanted to get to you. There had been an inquiry about our maintenance costs and our operating costs and so forth. And this is a report that Ty and Bond has been putting together for the last 20 or 30 years. This particular one from 2019, you'll notice the graph on it indicates that the median rate for wastewater in Connecticut for 2019 was $520. We were at 406, which is back at the 2013 numbers, and we held that for this year also. So we're pretty well below the median for our rates and our costs on running the facilities. The second page, there was an inquiry about the nitrogen removal program. We're getting paid for nitrogen. And I just threw this together. It's a general outline. It doesn't have all of the details in it, but I wanted to make it available to you, and I think you can read through that on your own.
Thank you.
But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to review it with you.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Did everyone have a chance to read through this and have any questions? Mr. Kent?
Thank you, Laura. Mr. Hyde, the nitrogen removal credit program, the values for 2019 have not been announced yet, but do we have a annual actual results, say, for the last 6 or 8 years, that whether we've been above or below, whether we've had to pay or whether we've earned a credit?
I don't have it in dollars and cents. I have it in pounds.
And that can be converted. It's still an indication of whether we're kind of getting better.
Yeah, the numbers change as you read through this. As I said, it depends on how many plants have to buy credits. What comes in from plants that need to purchase credits establishes a fund. And the plants that meet permit, that fund is divided by that number of pounds, or they come up with an equal dollar per pound. It actually explains it better in here than I'm spewing it at this moment.
So if everyone's doing well, there's less money to be distributed.
Correct.
Okay, that's good for the state, I guess.
Well, the object of the program is to get everyone to do better every year so that in the end there'll be no money there and we'll all be running well. That is not predicted to be the case. There's a couple of plants that they are working on and that have grown recently that they're expecting things to be very similar to last year, which last year's number, if you wanted to plug it into that equation, was $10.94 per pound.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. I think I'm looking, there's no new business. Is there any new business? There's no old business. Motion to adjourn from Mr. Poison, a second from Mr. O'Brien. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, and Ty and Bond for being here.